When this project came along, I thought to myself, well, I'd love to be involved in making something from the raw material of a Nature Conservancy site, from a place. As we walked through the bush, we ended up at a kind of circular plot, a kind of sacred space that they've built up in the middle of the land, and they took me through all of the ingredients. And there, in the middle of this sacred space, there are these two plastic tubes. And I said, hey, what are those? And they said, oh, well, you know, this is a kind of lotion. That's when I realized that they were developing the skincare line. And I thought, what a great vehicle, the exhibition for the Nature Conservancy and this kind of conceptual product that I was intended to make. That's really when I made a connection to the Noongar, and that's really when I started to think about what the project could be. I knew that I wanted to create a kind of three-dimensional diagram of that process. They would gather in the top and you know, through this kind of twisting motion would, you know, transition that raw material into something in between. So at the very bottom, I considered this to be a kind of container, a vessel for collecting that raw material. The dimensions and proportions were directly inspired by these didgeridoos that I found there. And then the grooves were inspired by the engravings that I saw on the boomerang and on some of the other woodwork that I encountered down there. The raspberry gemwood was really a surprise. The color was very interesting, kind of a purplish, deep maroon brown, and it's a very, very hard wood. It has this, when we saw it in the field, had this totally weathered look as if, you know, it'd been there for centuries. Very, almost prehistoric nature. And you know, you cut it and all of a sudden the wood inside looks like it's brand new. If I had the opportunity to do it again, I would love to actually be there working with the Noongar. So I'm hoping that we can move forward with this idea of maybe packaging some element of their skincare product in the raspberry gemwood, sort of going full cycle and saying, hey, it's not just a kind of creative gesture, but there can be a greater good that comes from the project that relates to them and their place and what they're making, and also relates to the material.